Yo, what up, family? So we're gonna cover quite a bit here. It's trying to make sure I track towards my time, but we're just gonna jump straight into it with this leadership awareness and student life framework. And it's typically how I naturally lead, but a few books have kind of helped me put language to it, and of course with the help of AI tools now bringing it all together. Um, so I'm gonna just like go through it because, like I say again, I've been studying myself and through feedback and trying to like get like how I naturally, but then and then based on what I study, what I've submitted myself in certain project management, coaching, leadership certification programs, and all that type of stuff. And so again, just trying to bring it to a few things I believe that will help. But again, these are just words on a page, just information. The heart of this is we're gonna have to and work really hard to internalize it. So I kind of follow this method that I learned in the Scrum, not plan Scrum, but the framework of the Agile Scrum, being a Scrum Master, and I think it's Shuhari. And so one of the things I want you to keep in mind is that typically what it is that when we're learning something new, we kind of stay close to the information, the framework per se. We don't really deviate from it. But then as time go on and we work with the coach, especially someone that's familiar with it or like that, then we move into so which is like we might start to bend the rules and kind of contextualize it. Um, excuse me. So now we're experimenting, getting feedback. We have to be willing to try and jump out there and then it's and that's when we start breaking. This is when it's kind of become us in our own way. So you might say, "Oh, I like that, don't like that," but for the most part, we have become we're embodying it, for lack of better terms. This I want to start with leadership awareness. So knowing yourself isn't the same as knowing your team. And one of the reasons why this is big to me is self-awareness is where every good leader starts. So I wholeheartedly believe in striving to be a self-aware leader. Primarily, it's asking the question, what is it like to be on the other side of you? What is it like to be on the other side of you? If that person could be 100% honest with you, what would they say? Like not what you'll filter through, not what your intent, what would they say? Doesn't mean you all have to be in full agreement with it, but then what if you have three or four, five, six people saying the same thing? So if you've been rocking with me, this is probably not relatively new to you. But that's where we have to start. But so self-awareness is essential, but it's not where leadership ends. Again, so you have a lot of people they read the books. I see this all the time. I felt we read the books, we go to the conferences. We now that again we have chat and the open AI and Claude and Gemini and all these type of tools that are disposable. Uh, where there's no shortage of getting information and growing and that self-growth, self-awareness. But there's also a danger in that this is not necessarily, but I'll say it kind of leads us to the Dunning-Kruger effect, or it can help us say things that we have not yet mastered, for lack of better terms. Maybe we don't like the term master, but we consistently demonstrate. So anywho, but that's not the topic that we'll get into for another day. But the second kind of awareness, and most leaders never fully develop it, is that team and organizational awareness. So self-awareness is looking inward. It's understanding who you are, who we are, our strengths, our tendencies, our blind spots, and our triggers. Like on here, know how you naturally lead. All of us probably have a naturally primary and secondary way that we lead. But again, it's also knowing, oh, I'm sorry, we're not there yet. It's also knowing and understanding our shadow side. How do we regulate like our responses? Do we recognize when we overplay or over-index or overstate ourselves? This is very important. Again, self-awareness really helps that is essential. But again, if you only stop there, you lack how to look outward. And this is again where you get into team and organization awareness. So it's understanding the room. So you've heard people say reading the room and all of that type of stuff, but no, understanding the room, how your team functions, what does your team need, and what the system is actually doing. So all of us, again, we are shaping a culture, we're shaping a system. And a lot of times, again, when we don't have this awareness and we don't have language for it, we end up creating a system that actually works against us as leaders. So what happens is we also have to balance this out and say, okay, I want to read team dynamics. I need to learn how to read team dynamics and morale. I need to understand that more. I need to start understanding like what is high performing teams? How does that work together? How do you cultivate and really build a team? If you are just focusing on the leadership aspect of it and you don't study teams, I'm telling you, then you don't study organizations. So, for example, I'm an enterprise coach, and this is not to brag, but to show you, trust me, I'm a certified enterprise coach, certified agile coach, and then I'm a certified agile leader along with my project management, kind of the main certifications that I have. All of them have helped me see things from the individual level, the team level, team of teams level, like cross teams, as well as the overarching enterprise. And it's a different way to look at that and understand that, which you start getting into systems thinking and systems coaching. So again, it's understanding culture, and I'm saying not just org charts here, but it might be your ministry, not just departmental lanes and things of that nature. It's understanding the culture that you have because leaders, I believe, help shape culture, and then cultures in return end up shaping the leaders. So see patterns across the systems and know what people are actually experiencing. So this is again, and I need to update this. I say this is a gap that nobody talks about. I do think it's starting to be a little bit more. You're seeing it in more writings and things of that nature now. Probably not to the extent of self-awareness, but it's been talked about a lot. I will say, like in high performance teams and stuff like that. So a leader can be personally growing, deeply self-aware, and genuinely trying. Most leaders are, most good leaders are, and still completely be out of sync with their team, what their team is experiencing, and all that type of stuff. Because again, we have an intent, but we have to also have that awareness again of the teams in the organization, because again, just because we have personal clarity and we understand it up here, and again, this is the danger sometimes with AI. We can throw it in there and like, oh, that makes sense to me, but we already coming in with a preconceived notion, but it might not make sense to your team. It might not be connecting with them, because it happens to me sometimes. People are like, man, I really spent some time with this. Like prime example, I have an intent. I'm hoping this is extremely clear as we navigate this, but again, communication sent, communication received, and then communication understood. So in that understood phase or understanding, that's where it's going to be like, okay, how do you work there? Because it's very clear to me, but is it very clear to you? So personal clarity doesn't automatically produce organizational clarity, or you can also say organizational clarity doesn't automatically produce personal clarity. This is why leadership is so important, but you still have to learn the room, your team, your dynamics, and all of that type of stuff. So what does that mean? Um, Self-aware. We don't want to be self-aware only. We don't want to just only focus on self-improvement and self-awareness. Again, knows themselves well, but projects their clarity onto the team, assumes alignment, assumes alignment that isn't there. That's it. Yeah. So you think your team has alignment, but they really don't. And there's nothing more dangerous than the team, truthfully, just not even feeling you as a leader. And so we got to navigate that. Again, like so the team is moving, but alone. And then on the other side of that, it's the team aware. So when we only focus, because it's a danger, it's when we strive to just study teams and high performing teams and how organizations work, but we don't take the time to know ourselves and build ourselves as a leader. This was leads us to like read the room well, but we often lack self knowledge, knowing our own temperament, knowing how we navigate things, and we get pulled by the group. And basically, it's like awareness without that grounding to regulate and say, how am I processing this? How am I showing up? And if we're not careful, this will end up leading us into drifting into what we often call people pleasing, and things of that nature. And that's a whole nother conversation I want to get into, but I'm gonna show this one and not. So essentially, we want both together. It's living in the tension of both. You might have to lean more towards the other, depending on the context, but it's knowing our tendencies. I'm gonna just read it here. Both together knows their own tendencies and reads the room accurately, can close the gap. This is where real influence operates. So again, a lot of times when we're leading, it's an expectation in our head, and then it's a understanding in other people's head. And the further that gap is, the harder it's going to be to be able to lead. I don't know if it's possible to close the gap completely like this, uh, but we want to strive to close it. And then like so, every time we change teams, we move in a different direction and all that type of stuff. You know, it's not like a linear like the gap like right now if you throw me into like another challenge or I move up in leadership, here we go, close it, new people come in, oh, it might open up a little. So then it's myself, like the pressure, all this type of stuff that we have to take an account. So that's again something we have to think about when it comes to just self-development, self-awareness. So basically, ending on this note, self-development is the starting line. It's not the finish line. It's just a starting line, and there's so much other stuff. It's learning how to coach it, learning how to facilitate it, knowing the art and science behind it. Now, in the biblical sense, yes, the Holy Spirit, He's powerful. He's all-knowing. You could be filled. You could be the indwelling. Well, I'm not trying to get into a theological argument with that right now, but what I am getting into is just because whether he indwells or you feel, he is all knowing, we are not. And so we have skills and things that we have been called to, and we have to develop. Now, I do believe the best leaders in the world that are committed to excellence, committed to growth, and all this type of stuff, in addition to the power and working of the Holy Spirit, I might be biased, but I feel like are the best leaders in the world. So that's this sheet that you should have now. Um, Depending on when you watch this video. Um, so the next one. All right. So this gets into what I call the student life leadership framework. And I always butcher this quote, but it says, I think it goes something like, it started with models, but it's like dealing with all frameworks are useful or something like that, or not helpful at all, or helpful and not useful. It's some weird quote. I should have had it up, but I don't. But essentially, at the heart of it is that it's not dismissing framework, but whether we have theological frameworks, management, leadership, study frameworks, we are kind of seeing things through the lens of that framework. So what typically with me, what I look at is that I mix and match a lot of different stuff. I try to read the situation, then find the best friend, then I start picking things, but I also want to understand like why am I picking things and all that type of stuff. And it's a continual, like we're always operating. So again, going back to that Shu Hari, a lot of us, we might stay close to the framework, but this is why we have to practice and really try to change our habits, train our habits, I should say, really try to get train to get incrementally better. So this framework here, and I'll read through it. So I'll just say we don't lead well from assumption. We don't. A lot of us lead. A lot of us, and we're guilty that we lead from assumption or expectations. But it's dangerous. So I'm just read it. We don't lead from assumption. We lead better when we understand enough. Not everything, but understand enough. Some people say about 70%. Then hey, go with it. Serve people well. Steward what's been entrusted. Bring order to the work. Oh, I know we don't like that word. Coach people towards ownership. Hey, leader, if everything moves when you show up, it's all 1%. Let me just say this. I gotta stop here. 100% of 1% of a team for the most part will always be 100% better than you. I'm gonna say that again. 1% of your team will always be better than 100% of you. You have to coach people towards ownership. You have to allow other people to go. Don't let them go off the deep end, but they're gonna bump their head. We do it too. So anyway, let me get back in. So coach people towards ownership. That's what we want to see. We want to see people stand up and take, I'm gonna say, pride. Like they are proud of what they are striving to own. And look, hear me, deliver results with accountability. If you don't have accountability, a lot of times you're not going to have results. So we want to deliver results with accountability. So we want to be accountable. And so this framework, like it's not industry specific, it's people specific. See, I'm butchering these words. The context changes, the marketplace, like all of that type of stuff, depending on what secular, ministry, team, family. But wherever there are people, leadership has to show up, and here it is, be contextualized, contextualized. I did an old video on contextual leadership because again, we don't want to over-index on it. But a lot of us, when we read these books, again, these podcasts, we go to these conferences or whatever, we don't know how to contextualize it in our domain. And in the local church we've been called to, in the organization we've been called to. Like, prime example, this is nothing new. Again, I read a lot of books, so this is just again how I kind of think. Like, so it's with my intent, no matter how much I try to make it, but also too, you have to contextualize it based on your domain and what you're dealing with, your department. You know, are you leading the whole church? Are you on the senior leadership team? Are you on a senior leadership team and then leading a department? Are you, what does the associate or assistant pastor lead? What does the like executive like all these type of things you have to think about, and that's what's going to help you start contextualize it. And that's why systems are important in making sure that, again, that awareness and knowing what connects, because it would be dangerous for me to have somebody leading over here and then lead something else. And it's like these two things are consistently. So that's going to drive. So anywho, that's why we have to have that organizational awareness as well. So let's get into it. So the first one is learn the context. Again, we're never going to know everything, but we should strive. What do I need to understand before I try to lead this? That is the first question I always try to ask myself. Hey, Tim, what do you need to understand before you try to lead this? No matter how much you give me the green light, no matter how much you tell me to take it and run with it, um, how much do I understand before I strive to lead this or try to lead this? Because I can be one of the greatest leaders in the world, but if what if I'm missing context? I can do more damage than I can add value. And so again, understanding keeps leadership from becoming assumptions. I don't want to just jump in. So okay, I've seen enough, yada yada yada. I'm assuming. Let me jump in, and then I just start rocking the boat. Especially in the ministry context, when you have different type of theological perspectives and all that type of stuff. It can get real dangerous. So again, I want to understand, I want to learn the context so I can know within the boundaries to operate in. And then if I want to, I might say, hey, look, that's just too much. I can't do that. And so that's very important. Lead, lead, lead. Where are we going and why does it matter? A lot of leaders are just leading nowhere. I think it was Zig Ziglar would say, aim at nothing and you will hit it every time. I'm gonna say that again. Aim at nothing and you will hit it every time. You can finish it. So lead. Where are we going and why does it matter? A lot of us kind of can like say, hey, this is where I want to go. But we don't do a good job at saying, why does this matter? I have another video called Lead with Clarity with Impact Mapping, if you want to check out in this channel, that will help you with that. A light framework, because a lot of us just haven't been trained on what it is to do strategic thinking, as well as strategic management and all of that. And so leadership gives direction, it set direction. Anybody can communicate the vision. Like mostly, I'm not saying everybody can be a visionary, but anybody can typically communicate and drum up something, or just about anybody, I should say. But it's one thing to hold the vision, to be able to set the direction and go in and galvanize people to go in that direction, even when you probably don't even see it as much as you desire to see it. Now you got to convince others. And so that's something, again, where are we going? What can you see? What is the Lord showing you if you're in the ministry sense? Like what do you believe? What are you what do you see? How is that connecting and why does it matter? Why should I go in this direction and follow you? Not just because you got a title. I'm past that. Like just because you have a title, like that's entitlement. Like that's just, well, I'm the head, in charge. Okay, but where are we going? And why does it matter? Because you don't want to settle as just a positional leader. That's dangerous, man. Like, well, follow me because I was placed here. I'm telling you right now, that's why I don't, personally with me, like, no, I typically I just, have to find someone else, or it's just gonna be friction there. Respectfully, I submit, but it's gonna be friction there. So let's move on. Serve. What do the people need to grow and contribute well? Strengthening people, serving strengthens people. We are, look, I study a lot of leadership books, a lot of through a faith-based lens, but man, let us not lose heart. I personally think if you don't have a heart to serve, you don't have no business in leadership. I believe that any true servant can grow into a leader. I know it's a statement out there and say leaders are born. I'm not gonna get into that. I mean, every leader that's led has to be born, but but and I know what they're saying. I do believe there's a calling. I do people have a gift, naturally and things of that nature. Not trying to like rock that, but also too, I do believe that you can take someone. I think you can take just about anyone with a servant's heart and help them learn how to lead. But I do not think you can take every leader and help them have a servant's heart. So I would rather for you and us learn to serve first before we try to lead anything. Because when you step into leadership, unless you're just a positional leader, how in the world are you going to convince people to serve and trust you and trust the vision and follow you when you never did it with the right heart posture or never did it wholeheartedly? That's something to think about. So serving strengthens others. What do people need? How are you helping them grow? How do you, if you have kids or grandkids or you're a mentor, what are you giving them to help them grow? Or are you letting them fall to their own devices? Like I tell you, parenting will humble you like nothing else, in my opinion. So steward, this is another word that we don't do good. I feel like every visionary leader or culture has to have strong stewardship because this is what teaches you how to handle responsibility. So, but I also feel like strong stewardship cultures need vision. It's a balance. It's working in tandem with one another. But you got to have vision to know how to steward towards that vision. So, what has been entrusted to us? Many of you know that one of my favorite passage of scripture studies is the parable of talents. Again, I don't want to reduce it. I think I said this on the other video. It's on another sheet that's out there. I don't want to reduce it to just performance management, but stewarding to the best of your capability of what God's entrusted you to. I always go back to when Jesus was talking that parable and the master came back. He didn't say you have this many, you have that. He didn't get into, well, this person grew more. No, he say, what did you do? What based on what I gave you, what did you do? Don't too many times we over here looking over there and be like, well, they got it like this and they like no, let's stay in our lane and steward our area based on we lose sight of what God wants us to multiply the moment we start carrying with somebody else. They might just be a better leader than you or me. That's okay. That does not matter. Or they might just, I don't know. Like it could be a lot of different things. But hey, look, I know we're gonna look up, but hey, this one, look back in. Handle your responsibility. What has been entrusted to us? What has been entrusted to you? And how do you handle it faithfully? Stewardship protects what has been entrusted. I'm gonna say that again. Stewardship protects what has been entrusted. That's why, like, from a financial sense, you probably want to argue it. But so many people say, hey, man, if you give me $1 million, I do this, this, and that. And then you look up and 3 months later they broke because they didn't know how to steward. Stewardship protects what has been entrusted. So stewardship and management truthfully can almost be interchangeable, but I want to kind of separate them in this framework because manage it what needs to be organized so the work can move. This is another thing. Management brings order. Um, Again, they can be very, very closely related. But God even brought order to things. I mean, we see it all throughout the Bible when I hear people say, oh, no, God gives you strategy. He gave us a brain. He gave us different uniqueness and things to look out and teams and diversity and all this type of stuff. So but we need that order. We need to organize things. Like if you got all this stuff flying around, how do you know how to prioritize what? What direction? What's the outcome? So we need to, because we don't, we have chaos and we might get there, but we're getting there in a consistent chaotic environment. So we want to bring order. I always say, like, organize the work, visualize the work, get a board, show your team, communicate, get in the habit of creating feedback loops, either weekly, bi-weekly, every 3 weeks, or once a month, or have a touch point, especially like, every other week, just a 15-minute touch point. Order the work and make sure that it's still on track. That's a balance. Like stewardship and management go hand in hand. Then last two, coach. Again, going back to that, the develop ownership. How do I help this person or team take the next step with ownership? If your team always is waiting on you, if it always has to be your idea, I'm dealing with this right now in a secular sense. We're trying to help people build the confidence up because everything's flowing through one person and it's crazy. And I'm like, okay, no, that is not balanced ownership. Yes, we know you're the leader, but people should own things and it should be okay. If they can do it about 70 to 75% like you would, no one's going to do things exactly like you are. Now, again, sometimes, you might have to be like, if it's like has to be exactly one way, then just, keep it all. But I'm gonna tell you like this: if you whether you in the men's ministry, women's ministry, youth ministry, praise team, if always have to be your songs, if always have to be your curriculum, the way I see it, I'm telling you right now, good luck with a team. And if they are following you, they are only following you by default. They are not following you because they desire to, because you don't create that atmosphere of ownership. And then last, we want to deliver uh, and get results. Are we doing what we said matters? Nothing frustrates me more than hearing somebody repetitively say, I'm gonna have to get up and I'm gonna have to do it, or I'm gonna do it, or I said I was gonna do it. It drives me up the wall. So I'm letting you know right now, if you say it three times and there's no course correction, oh, it's driving me. And I'll just say that, include myself. It like I mean, look, it's certain things I've been saying. It is just and it just irritates me. Not legit. I don't even make. I don't. I just say, babe, my wife, work, whatever. I just got to do it. I know excuses. I just got to do it. So delivery makes ownership visible. So whatever we're owning, when we deliver on something, whether it's a conference, okay, we're going through this and we're understanding the context and trying to put this conference on, whatever. And then we, whatever, work and bounce through these steps. Because again, like you can move through these steps in any given situation, any given person, just depending on what's going on. But eventually, once we deliver, and say things like we having a youth conference or youth rally or a youth service or whatever. And it's like it starts up in this understanding, and then you're leading, you're bouncing back and forth, you're trying to get people to serve, you're serving, you're stewarding, you're bouncing, you're bringing order, you're coaching people to kind of help areas because you can't do it all. And then finally it's here, and it's like, man, all of this is we did what we said mattered. So we went back to where are we going and why does it matter? But now we just delivered on what we said matters. So that's very important. Delivery makes ownership visible. So a few things. Hold attention. Um, Holding attention and things. So the nuance or whatever, this is really my wife says become one of my favorite words, but it's true. But I don't like to just say it just to say it. But these are a few areas that we do. Understanding without action can become a delay. So in other words, if you spend time just learning the context, hey, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to. That's why I say about 70%. You're trying to get the 95, 100% of understanding. You just delaying, or what they call analysis paralysis. Just it's just a delay. It's like I said, hey, I'm just understanding, but I'm not taking action on it. Action without understanding becomes assumption. So again, come in like a what they call a bull in a china shop. Just all action but no understanding. Just hey, then you can see people, what? No, we don't do it that way. Or no, if you just would have asked, came into assumption heavy. So it's a balance. Management without leadership becomes control. So if you just only steward and management, but again, some of the coaching things, the leading, serving, and coaching people, you are just a control freak. Like, come in, come in, come in, come in. If you manage without leadership, you might have the title of a leader, but all you do is manage without leadership. Again, setting that direction, coaching people, serving, building them up, helping them with the skill set. You are a control freak. That's what you are. That's all you are. And so we want management. We don't want management without leadership. We want both. Leadership without management, here it goes. So if you just out here just leading, whatever, but not trying to bring order to things, not trying to handle responsibilities, all you are is just an inspirational speaker with no execution. That's all you are. You're just gonna motivate me. You're gonna talk about showers, but don't ever take a shower. It's like that. Like you describe the smelling, all that type of stuff, but you just no I'm not, you get it. So it's just no execution. Serving without accountability. Here it goes. We don't like that. That is, especially in the ministry sense, accountability, man. Uh, accountability has led more people probably to leave the ministry more than anything. So now you got trust me, you got some pastors that's kind of need help, and all of us do. More of a control freak, but what I'm saying is that, and not just pastors, you got some people like that too. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that, truthfully, in all honesty, accountability, it's almost like a word of profanity. Like, who are you to tell me? And it's conversation like that. I'm grown. I know I am. I know I'm a part of the parking lot committee, the macaroni and cheese committee. Like I run. No, like we want accountability. So serving without accountability, it can become like enabling. like it can, because again, it's just enabling those behaviors. I can't, you're serving and and you desire to help and we'll go back to it. I'm trying to volunteer and all these type of things, but at any time, like if you late or whatever like that, or course correction, no accountability, no, I'm just enabling you to just really do what you want to do. So we want to have that accountability. Accountability without serving can become harsh. So if we always just looking, everything is like the correction police. This is that. This is accountability, accountability. But we don't have that servant's heart, that servant's posture. Then it can just really become harsh. So we want again both. And I might work on those words there. You probably say, how does that connect? But that's kind of I was thinking about at the time. But that's why we improvise, improve things. But that's essentially the heart behind it. And then the last one on this one, coaching without delivery. So I'm a senior agile coach. Um, One of the things I try to stop is just endless conversations, just negativity. It's like at some point, okay, we're coaching, but we're not delivering on anything. We're just having a conversation. Just get ready. It's like meetings for meetings and all this type of stuff. What are we going to execute on? So that's very important when you're thinking about coaching someone. You want to coach them towards ownership again. So delivery, because delivery is what makes ownership visible. So we want to see something tangible or something produced like that. So we got to think about this in our context in leadership. It just goes for the church too. Hey, it just goes for the local church, big C church, whatever you want to call it. It's all inclusive, even in our homes. I'm preaching to myself. And then delivery without stewardship, it burns people out. When we are so focused, results, I got to get results, I got to get results, I got to get results. It burns people out. You don't want to burn people out. You don't want people to go on weary. What's the verse? Weary and well doing. So we want to yes, we want to get results, but we want to make sure that we're stewarding properly. We're handling things responsibly. It's a balance. So these are just some tensions that you might have to hold as you think through this framework. But again, the short version, understand first, or understand as much as you possibly can. I think GMC wrong, not said GMC wrong, John C. Maxwell. He talks about before you try to attempt to set things right, make sure you see things right. Lead clearly. One of the greatest gifts you can give your team or your organization. Hear me, please hear me if you hear nothing else. One of the greatest gifts you can give is clarity. And trust me, I would rather have clarity up front than going on down the road and it being a lot much more expensive because all the mistakes or assumptions and things like that that we made. Serve people. We want to serve people. We want to have a servant's heart. We want to steward well. We want to manage simply, just bringing order to it. We want to coach for ownership and we want to deliver responsibly. And so this is a light framework to help you lead and serve better in whatever capacity that you lead. If you want more information, I would encourage you to go to www.timothypratt.org. Again, this is a framework that I'm passionate about. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of similarities out there, but I'm calling this my baby. This is typically the stages that I work through. Of course, a lot of other different things, but primarily I'm always striving to navigate through this lens. So, this is on-demand video that I'll be posting up on YouTube. Again, feel free to connect with me if you want to talk, but this is going to be the expectation in any type of capacity. If I'm coaching you, whether it be 30 minutes a week or whatever, you have to kind of go through an assessment and all of that. If we're dealing with team and organizational awareness, because we got to bring this thing together. And then, of course, most importantly, prayer, faithfulness to God, trusting in power, all that type of stuff, the power of the Holy Spirit. Listen, it's all about Jesus. And we're going to do that, but we're also going to make sure we do our part right to end the relationship. So again, not going to prolong it, but I love you all, and I really hope you got some out of this. Be blessed.